Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Wake Up Niners, brought to you by Atrium Health. I'm Matt Swerat, and a couple of special guests joining us here today. Head men's basketball coach Ron Sanchez and football coach Will Healy. Guys, how you doing?
Ron, I'll let you go ahead.
I gotta speak before Will does, because then I might not be able to get him off the air.
Here we go.
I'm doing okay. We're doing all right, surviving, enjoying some family time, but we're doing well.
Yeah, it's definitely been an interesting experience. Something that I think two months ago I'd have called you crazy if you said we'd be going through it. But I hope that everybody out there is healthy and enjoying some time with the family, and also ready to get back after it.
You know, we're all staying at home right now. Will's in his home office. I think Ron's in a closet somewhere in his new house. I'm in my backyard. We're not used to being home. None of us this time of year. Always something going on with what we do. So, starting with Ron, what are you guys doing right now to, stay busy?
Honestly, man, I think I've been busier during this stretch than I would be during a normal times. The first part is we're all learning how to work. So we're adjusting to how do you with your staff, your players, your recruits, and on top of that, you're at home, so your kids and your wife also want some time. So I don't know if there's enough there, and also trying to find a way to socialize with your friends. So Will and I have become a bit of social distancing friends through some media outlets, and but it's been interesting.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing about it is you feel like you're working all day long to come up with a new plan. It's changed so fast, and what we're allowed to do, what we are, hoping that soon we'll be allowed to do. So you feel like all day long you're chasing the rabbit a little bit with making sure that your players and your staff is up to date with what's going on. You just can't catch up, and so I agree with Ron. Recruiting, especially over Zoom calls and FaceTimes and phone calls, it never stops. Your communication with your staff, I think, is extremely important. And then when you got a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old that know exactly where you're working every day, it makes it a little bit tougher to work from home. I don't think that is a term that can be used after this, because there is no chance whatsoever that there's going to be a full day's work put in. I mean, there's going to be a baseball or basketball game going on well before the end of the workday.
Well, I know for me, 4 under 9, homeschooling was for me, it was interesting. That's for sure. It ends today. Have you guys had to do any of that with your kids? I know Eli is in kindergarten 6, but Ron, you've got Ray and also Rose, a little bit older. Have you had to do any of that stuff with them?
Oh yeah. I've learned that I am not equipped to do elementary school math, and I'm definitely patient enough to teach an 11-year-old and a 9-year-old. So it's been a challenge, but it's been fun at the same time. My wife said, I'm removing you from the academic pursuits, and we're going to make you in charge of. So I am genuinely just in charge of making sure that our kids spend energy throughout the day. So we go on runs, bike rides, push-ups, sit-ups, and some ball handling stuff. I just make sure they stay active, and mom is a lot more patient with the academics.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm like Bobby Knight up there. We're not doing a whole lot of ball handling, but we're definitely we're shooting the basketball around, and academically for me, it's been a lot more of Eli having an opportunity to get outside and get off the iPhone than it probably has been anything that he's learned academically at my house. And I promise you, I wouldn't be the one in charge of any of that. So I do think it keeps you on your heels, and it keeps you fresh from a coaching perspective, because the coaching does not stop when you get home when you have kids. A lot of the same similarities, a lot of how I learned how to be a head coach is because of what I learned as being a father. And so it definitely doesn't stop now.
How about for you guys, when we go back to what we will call like the new normal? What have you taken? What do you think you've taken from this time that you can maybe still use going forward?
Oh man, to be honest with you, I think that learning how to work via a distance, as far as communicating with players, especially, I mean, you know, we recruit internationally. I think that these calls that, you know, we've been forced to do, and the way we started recruiting is definitely something that we could use for our future, you know, where now we've learned how to bring our campus to a different country, you know, via this venue, you know. So I think it's something that's been new for us because we've been kind of playing with it, but now we've had to get really creative, you know, and we had to go on campus and shoot new footage and put things together to really introduce our campus, our community, our athletic department, the coaches from different areas, you know, Club Lit to kids in Europe, you know. So it's been actually a lot of fun figuring that out. And I think that's gonna help us save some time, some energy, and maybe even some resources in the future.
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I think probably as much as anything, you know, maybe it's different how you interview. You know, you get a guy on Zoom and you have an opportunity to hire a new coach. Instead of having to fly them in every time, you may have an initial cut of, you know, guys that you really enjoyed having a face-to-face conversation. And I think it's different with FaceTime and Zoom. You know, I mean, we're sitting here, we're into it. Most of the time when you get on FaceTime with a guy, they're walking around somewhere, they're half paying attention, half not. So that communication's a little different. I think the other thing for me is going back to the beginning of why you picked the profession. And it's the greatest profession in the history of the world because of the relationships you have and because of who you get a chance to be around on a regular basis. And when you take that away, it's not the same profession. You know, when I can't go into work every single day and see some of my best friends and be around Ron and Mike and it's different, you know. I'm not a person who's really good at sitting behind a desk and just talking to people over the phone. I need that interaction. One of the first things that I was talking to Brian Kite whenever all this happened, and he said, Will, one of the things coaches are going to understand is we always talk about players needing structure, but really coaches need the structure just as bad as the players need the structure because shoot, it's the only structure I've known for the last 20 years of my life. And so you take that away from me and it's different, but I think it makes you appreciate the relationships you have, the face-to-face interactions, the day-to-day conversations, and hopefully you don't take those for granted in the future.
I would also kind of take on that, the trust factor you have in your staff that they're still out there doing their job so you can get better as a team because you aren't with them every day.
No, definitely. This is why you know, surround yourself with people that are intrinsically motivated, you know, people that, as head coaches, you got to have assistants, you know, that, you know, kind of elevate your staff, you know, and the trust factor is that's number one when it comes to all of this stuff. And I tell you, I'm so thankful, just like Will, that we have great people working with us. And I think that we can, you know, we approach this thing the right way, we can definitely take advantage of the opportunity that has been placed in front of us. Many things have been taken away, but also other opportunities have been placed, you know, at our feet. And we just got to find a way to identify those, attack those, and, you know, grow from it.
Yeah, and I made this mistake early on, you know, where you think guys are at home and they just got all kinds of time on their hand and man, we can do this, or I saw this guy and this, you know, this other coach doing this. I like that idea. Let's implement it. And then I got on a staff call and had a list of about 30 things that I wanted guys to do. And fortunately, I'm around a bunch of guys that tell me when I'm being an idiot. And so I had about 15 phone calls after the meeting, especially from Marcus West, just saying, big guy, we got you, relax. You know, I know you think we got all the time in the world, but we're being efficient. We're working hard. You got to trust us, just like you do every single day in the office when you don't micromanage. And so it made me really come up with, here are my priorities. Here are my priorities for a team. Here are my priorities for a staff, and really narrow and hone in and say, all right, when we leave this thing, these are the things that we have to accomplish. And so you know, kind of narrow your focus in and make sure that we're really going after those areas hard. So I made that mistake early. I've learned a lot. I think I've grown a lot through these last 2 months. But there's no question about it. The trust in the guys that work with you is what makes me be able to sleep at night and know that we're still heading in the right direction.
Hey, I want to ask you guys, you're both coming off fantastic seasons, of course. And, Ron, you guys doubled your win total. You got 16 wins in the conference tournament that we don't get a chance to play in. Will you guys, first winning team in program history, go to a bowl game, the Bahamas Bowl, that experience? And now that it's all over, you've had some time to kind of reflect on the season. What do you take from these 2 seasons for you guys as head coaches? And, what are you excited about that you've seen and now going forward?
I think you learn most from your experience. There are a lot of experiences that, we had this season that really exposed some of our weaknesses, and also, some highlights that we weren't, expecting that were also presented to us. Players that could do some things that, sometimes we weren't even aware of. There's even things that players can do that they themselves were not aware of because maybe they played different roles, before they arrived to us. So, firstly, from game 1, the last game it was just a learning opportunity for us. We obviously have to get a lot better on the road as a team. And was that part of youth? Was it part of inexperience of playing on the road? Was it part of improving as a team and people expecting you, to be really competitive and you got their best shot? And how do you manage that? So for us, it's a matter of really growing and learning. The one thing that I am disappointed in is, I haven't experienced a conference tournament in this league. And that was our first to take that next step. And we didn't have a chance to do that. And playing under that kind of pressure is completely different, But as a staff, I think we all grew. We learned there. For us, we're always learning. And again, this is only season number 2. 9 new players last year. We got, a load more coming in. This next season, transfer rules are changing. A lot of things are changing. With this whole issue that we have going on here. So I think we all as coaches, we're almost relearning our business and how to manage it, and we're in it. It's not as if it's coming. We literally have to adjust today, because if not, we're going to be left behind. So a lot of conversations are happening. A lot of discussions are happening. A lot of are coming, and we as coaches have to be prepared.
Yeah, I think that a lot of my learning experience this year was not just learning the conference and where we stack up, how talented are we, who's the most talented, how difficult is it to play in this place, I also made a big mistake, and it's funny because Ron should take the credit for the last 5 wins, because when we lost 5 in a row, we brought Ron in to come talk to us, and all of a sudden we won 5 in a row. So I'm sure he thinks he's, that's why my wife won't let him come to football practice. They're worried that Mike's going to fire me as a football coach and let Ron coach both. But I think that I made a mistake of, in year 1 in the transitional year, saying, okay, I don't know how much time I have to implement our culture. And so it was almost a little bit of survival. We'll just survive year 1. We got really good people. We're doing some good things, but almost like surviving on talent. And I made a big mistake of that. I think my communication was poor amongst the staff. I think that the values and the culture that we want and we believe in here wasn't really making any steps towards something that could stand the test of time. And you go 2-5 and you look back and you're like, man, not only am I not establishing a culture that I think lasts, but we're also getting our butt kicked every Saturday. So why don't I just pick one that I can control? And that was the process and the culture. And I think even though we didn't have the immediate results that we would have liked to have when we started implementing it versus Western Kentucky, I think it definitely paid dividends. We were fortunate to win some games, which then helps you push the culture even more. And we had some guys really buy into it. I learned from that. I learned from my preparation from the bowl game. How do you handle the recruiting period? How do you handle an early bowl game? How do you handle the bowl trip? How do you handle, something as little as what type of gear do we give them and what's their per diem? All of those things that you can have all the people in the world give you advice, but until you really live it and go through it, I don't know if you really learn it. And I failed at a million different things. I failed a million different things at the FBS level and Conference USA level. in a bowl game from a culture perspective. But I learned a lot, and I grew a lot in a year, and I think our staff and players did as well.
Let's talk about something I know that you guys are really excited about, and that was the Michael Jordan documentary. You guys are huge Jordan fans. Will's got his photo. Ron's got an autographed jersey. Guys, your take on the documentary.
First, can we get some votes? Oh, sorry, we can't get some live votes. See who's got the best or the better of the two. But
well,
I'm not competing with you, Will.
It's nice of Mike to join me. But you know, it's cool that you have his jersey. But to have him here, it means a lot to me to support. Ron, I'll let you take it away since you're the basketball guy.
You know, honestly, I wish I was completely unpacked, because I would trump that photo with a photo of my wife next to Michael Jordan after a pickup game from when she worked this camp when she was in college. So she put it down. I see it. You know, honestly, I think the entire piece is just, you know, I think it's eye-opening. You know, I think it's a great way for us to see behind the scenes of what was going on, you know, during that era. And I think it's great for this generation to see a great athlete, you know, because I think that they've been deprived of what a GOAT really looks like, you know, the greatest of all time. What made him so good? I think that, you know, Kobe and LeBron and, you know, there are other guys that are elite, you know, but I just really believe that Michael was special. And as much as it had to do with his play, it had to do so much more with just his overall makeup and how his play lifted others, you know, and how he sacrificed for others, how he was the best in the world, but yet found a way to fit into a system that allowed the whole to succeed. You know, I think there's different lessons in that. And we're going to actually study the whole documentary and pull out pieces that I think are really relevant to our age group, you know, to college basketball, and just talk about those things and discuss it this as we go through the summer.
I mean, there's so many fascinating parts of that documentary. You know, the Pippen conversations, you know, the how Phil Jackson managed that roster, Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, you know, I mean, can you imagine with social media now if Dennis Rodman would have hopped on a motorcycle in Vegas with a Miller Lite? That doesn't happen anymore. You know, no player flies to Vegas to go get another guy who's missed, you know, 4 days of basketball. Like, that doesn't happen anymore. And so the way Phil Jackson managed that roster is fascinating to me. You know, I think that there's different ways to lead. Ron and I are great examples. There's different ways to lead, but I think that what Michael Jordan seemed to understand about his ability was he always got the best out of others. There's some guys in this game who lead by a little bit of fear and a little bit of, look, I know that you've got to raise your level to even be in the same building as I'm in, right? Because I've got it figured out. And I think one of the unique things that he said was, there's never anything that I'm going to ask you to do that I haven't done myself. That's an important part now. If you're going to lead by fears, is you got to live it. And he did that. Obviously, you know, both of us have different leadership styles than that. But I just think that, you know, the baseball piece is fascinating to me. How quickly it seemed like the world just collapsed on him with, like, you're on an island because you are the GOAT and everybody is waiting to knock you off. You know, and I think that's why he was so close with his family and his dad and some of those things, and kind of kept his entourage so tight. But it's just, I mean, what an unbelievable, you know, 10 hours to be able to watch a guy that is that talented, outworked everybody, and always seemed a way to bring the best out of other people around.
In 1994, I was in Hickory, North Carolina. We thought we were going to get Michael Jordan because at that level, we figured to be A-ball where he went. But because the facilities in the league, it was better to go to AA, went to Birmingham. What he did that year, you know, as coaches, you got to marvel at what his ability to step in at that highest level where if you can succeed in Double A, you can play in the major leagues. And scouts have said if this guy had done this a little bit earlier, he'd have been a major league all-star. And then to do that for a year and then go back and win more championships, that's, to me, amazing.
Yeah, the funny thing about it is he played the Chattanooga Lookouts. And so this would have been, 94. Birmingham Barons came to play Chattanooga, and it actually got rained out. But the place was packed. The parking lot was packed. I mean, the place probably held, 3,500 people, and there were 25,000 there just to see him get off the bus. And not only that, the dude probably got on the first Birmingham Barons bus and was like, nuh-uh. So he bought the team a bus so that he could travel on it, and so just I would say, to me, there's two guys in my lifetime that I would argue have transformed the sport, Michael Jordan and Tiger Woods. And I think that what they did for the game of basketball or what Michael Jordan did for basketball and Tiger Woods has done for golf, or something that we'll never see. Maybe because they're the first, but I still watch that documentary, and Michael Jordan glides through the air like I've never seen anybody do before. And so, yeah, no, I mean, but to me, the Phil Jackson aspect was just as fascinating, just how he was able to, hey, Michael, you just got in a fight with Steve Kerr. I need you to go find Rodman. Hey, Rodman's here. Go practice after you just skipped out on. I mean, it's like, how does this happen? But it all seemed to gel, and I think that's why Michael Jordan was like, unless Phil Jackson's here, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I think the one piece that has really stood out, and I've always been a fan, but I think Phil Jackson, I think he was phenomenal, the way that he managed the individuals, but then also managed the whole, and he did it his own way. It was not traditional, to bring guys in and do, his yoga and the stretching and the things that those guys had not done before. I think that he, kind of reinvented, a part of coaching at that level when you're dealing with elite athletes. I mean, he's giving guys books, and it was more than physical. A lot of the stuff that he did was preparing those guys mentally, and that's the piece that I kind of appreciate more now that you got a chance to really see how he managed Dennis as an individual, Michael as the best, talent, even the coaches and the input of other coaches, and, just a lot of different things there where I think he was humble enough to allow people to be who they are. And he wasn't trying to be the biggest figure, and allow guys just to function and manage. I think he did a great job. And I've always been a fan, but I think now I'm a bigger fan. And I think I haven't read any of his books, but I think I'm going to, find a way to work those into my quarantine rotation.
You guys going to be working Robbie Lewis right now for that ultimate foursome, you, Robbie, and Michael, right? Go out there and play.
Well, Robbie doesn't have that much.
We don't have no, sorry. That's not going to happen.
Know somebody who knows somebody, right?
No.
We're skipping. We're totally skipping Robbie. We're going to somebody who actually has some pull around here.
Exactly.
I hope Robbie's watching.
Hey, you mentioned Tiger Woods. How about this coming weekend, the charity event? You guys going to watch that? Tiger, Phil, Tom Brady, and Manning. That's going to be a lot of fun. Peyton Manning. I thought he was hysterical roasting Tom Brady in that interview they did.
I hadn't seen the interview. I did watch the Fowler, Matthew Wolff versus DJ and Rory the other day, and it's so weird. First off, watching those guys carry their own bag was awkward. Secondly, just no fans there, and it's very different watching those events. So I'm a lot more excited about watching this one than I was the one from last week. But it'll be interesting. You got 4 competitors now, and Peyton's pretty witty, and it sounds like I think Tiger is too, and I know Phil will crack a joke at anybody. So I'll be interested to see how Brady falls into the mix with this. Ron needs to be in that group.
I think we lost him with his hotspot internet.
Hey, you would think the guy, he's like the highest paid basketball coach in the country, and he can't even get Wi-Fi at his new house.
Well, the new house, has he finished the house? I know he was living upstairs for a while. they're still working on it. Might be close to being done.
No, Tara just told him he has to stay upstairs. It's not because the house isn't done. He's just not allowed downstairs. Yeah, he's telling lies.
Until we get him back, I want to ask you about the recent NFL draft. Alex Highsmith, of course, Pittsburgh Steelers. Cam Clark going to the New York Jets. Two more guys, the top 4 in the draft. I stayed up the entire night watching that night that Alex was picked right towards the end. I was so excited for him and his family. That's just great stuff to see for Niner fans.
Yeah, and incredible people. You know, you sound like you're at Augusta National back there. You got a contract playing or what?
It's raining in the backyard.
But, you know, I think it's funny because Emily had fallen asleep, and I scared scared her to death whenever I started going nuts when the Steelers picked them. And to me, what a great fit for Alex Highsmith. I mean, when I think about the things that the organization of the Pittsburgh Steelers has been built around, it's people like Alex Highsmith. I mean, team players and toughness and, you know, just all about the organization and you know, love the game of football. That's Alex. So couldn't happen to a better person. I know that he'll be ultra successful there. And then, you know, you turn it back on the next day and Cam's picked by the New York Jets, which was fun for me. I've got 2 buddies that are, hey, come on, man. Hey, get the big time, Ron. All right. I mean, get the Wi-Fi going at your house. All right. I'm telling a story, Ron. So just hang on a second. Okay. All right. So the Jets, the GM is a Richmond grad, and the VP is an Austin Peay grad. So having conversations with those guys during this draft process has been a lot of fun. To see him end up there with those people, I think is exceptional, a great fit. I know they're excited about him. And then Benny going to the Browns, teaming up with Larry, 2 guys on one team in a 7-year history of a program is pretty big time. So, yeah, a really special weekend and 3 really, really good people on top of great football players.
You know, Ron, for you.
All right, Ron, speak.
I think you gave Will control because he just wanted some alone time. That's such a Will move right there.
Hey, I
jumped all over it.
I hit leave meeting for you and look, gone, out.
Hey, Ron, for you, Jameer Young, the freshman, had just a tremendous season, so much to build on. But I know you're so proud of him and what he's accomplished.
Oh, definitely. You know, sometimes as coaches, we hope that a player can be, you know, what we thought he would be. And early on, and Jameer, his experience this season, you know, kind of, he was so much better than we even thought in so many different ways. You know, we're just happy for him, happy for his future. I think he's a great kid to continue to build our program around as we lose some of our seniors even next year and so on. But on top of him being a good player, man, he's a phenomenal kid. And like Will talked about his culture earlier today. You know, the one thing as coaches that we can't fail to do is work on our culture every day. And, you know, as much as your culture is the things that you value and you preach and you teach your athletes, your culture really is your people. You know, the people you're surrounded by, the people you bring in. And, you know, Jameer has been a great culture piece along with a lot of the others. You know, and I'm really excited for his future, and I'm glad that he decided to come here over other schools for sure.
Hey, Ron, I got to ask you, we've all seen the pictures. Coach Kimball got engaged this last weekend.
Yeah.
Pretty big deal they put together there. That was pretty impressive.
I know. I said, is this what happens when you get quarantined? You should be out recruiting. You're planning an engagement. Like, you know, like that's not even supposed to happen right now. But
yeah, the lights and the flowers. And
oh, yeah. No, I'll tell you one thing. He hit a home run. That's the one thing I will say. You know, his fiancée, she is special, special young lady. When I was talking to Kimball months ago, I said, man, you better get a ring. I said, because if you lose her, you're never going to get that one again. But I'm really happy for him, for her. Coach Kimball is an amazing, you know, human being. And, you know, she's just a godsend. I think he's very fortunate to have found somebody like her for sure.
Look, Ron probably helped Cody out a little bit. Ron's got some swag about him when it comes to romance now. So, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't my engagement was a debacle, but I'd like to hear from Ron what kind of Rico Suave did you pull out whenever you popped the question?
Listen, I've become wiser as I've gotten older. I got engaged early on in my life, so I bet you I could trump your debacle with my story.
I don't think so.
I might be able to
one day we're going to get our wives together, and we need to hear what they say about the way that you and I propose. Let's just put it like this. I did not put anywhere near the amount of time into my proposal as I do into a game day preparation. Okay?
Well, let's just say that whenever I proposed, the ring was facing the wrong direction. Okay? So I don't know what story you got, but I just know I messed it up more than you did.
Listen, when we get off the air, you and I will talk about this. I can't embarrass myself like this in the air.
I got you.
Hey guys, you pretty competitive. I know you played a lot of tennis, golf. You've been doing anything like that? Have you had some time to get out there, do anything? I know you're supposed to be social distancing, but you can do that in 6 feet.
Go ahead, Captain. Take it away. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, I've had some pretty big victories over my life, my lifespan, but none bigger than – well, Ron and I played tennis against each other. Here's what I did. I drove by the tennis courts a couple times for about an hour and a half until I saw him get winded, and then I went down and challenged him. And being 56 like he is, it was a good opportunity for me to really go after him. And then golf – Ron and I actually got a chance to play in the Wells Fargo Pro-Am a year ago, which was an amazing experience. It's probably the only thing Robbie Lewis has done for us since we've been here, unless it comes to softball and to the softball team. But we've had a blast. Obviously Robbie's a guy that we play with probably more than anybody, but we've enjoyed. I mean, those are so much fun for us to just get a chance to relax and be around each other. And I mean, it's every single time I leave, and I hate to say this with him on here, but Ron is that good. And, I learned something from being around him and how he handles situations and just is able to give me a perspective that I think is so wise and has been so successful and so creative in different ways. But our relationship is definitely really strong and grown, and we've used, he won't let me play tennis against him again, but golf has been something that, we've enjoyed together a lot.
Now, I'll tell you this, Will has a beautiful swing. That's all I'm going to say. You can tell that he's had a club in his hands for a long, long time. So he gives me a few strokes here and there. But the other day he said this, he said, well, it's hard to beat your nephew, when you give him a lead. That's what he said to me on the golf course. That's all I'm going to say.
I feel like every time he makes contact with the ball, I got to be like, great shot, Ron. Continue to work with this, and you're going to get better, So, I mean, at some point in time, I'm just going to take Eli out there instead of Ron.
Hey, all I know, last time we played, we were at the last hole, and I needed to par the hole, not to lose, okay? And I called it well before we got on the tee, and I let him know, because in that moment, one of us had to make plays, okay, or hit the right shots, as we like to say, okay, to make sure we didn't lose. And all I'm going to say is I hit 4 shots not to lose in a row.
What he didn't know, it was a par 3. We just told him it was a par 4. Yeah, I mean, whatever makes you feel better and sleep at night, Ron, I'm good with. Keep working, buddy. It's going to get better.
Hey, as we wrap this up, we'll wrap it up here with one last thing. As we go forward, Will, your season starts before Ron's does, hopefully. But what do you expect to see? It's going to be different, probably. It changes every day. But if you had to take a guess, what do you expect to see?
I mean, I expect us to play a full football season and pack this place out. That's what I want to have happen. And if it doesn't, you know what? I mean, here's what I'm saying is right now, speculating has gotten me nowhere. I don't know what's happened. I don't know what's going to happen next week. I definitely didn't know 2 months ago that this was going to happen. We still got 4 months before we're expected to play a football game. So there's a lot of things that can happen between now and then. But our place is moving forward like we're going to play a full year, and we're going to open up in Neyland Stadium in front of 107,000 people. And so You know, I think our staff and our players has handled this situation as well as we know how. I'm very proud of the progress we've made from a culture perspective, which has been the number one priority through this entire thing. You can still develop culture on Zoom. And so I think we'll come back, we'll have a great fall camp, and we'll be ready to roll for a 12-game really special season and see what happens, what other additions we can have from there.
You know, to be honest with me, is that I'm going to end up learning a lot from whatever, you know, Will ends up doing with his team, you know, and how things go. I know that we have a great, you know, administration that's really putting a lot of time and effort into getting us back into our facilities as soon as possible without, you know, compromising our health and so on. But, you know, I have so much more time than he does. You know, I mean, his season is right around the corner. So, you know, some of the things that he's sharing now, things that he shared with me, and I've been able to, you know, kind of, you know, just steal ideas from him and his staff, and, you know, to what they're doing to be prepared. But I expect, you know, some changes to be made, but I expect us to be, you know, back on the court, you know, competing and, you know, and going that way. But honestly, a lot of the things that we will learn and we will do, and however we manage it, you know, we'll end up learning from Will, as he's going to be kind of the tip of the sword as we venture into competition this fall.
Well, sounds great. I'm looking forward to it. And football will be here before you know it at Tennessee. And, of course, basketball right around the corner after that. Hey, guys, thanks so much for taking some time today. Hope you and your families have a great weekend. And stay safe. We'll talk to you soon.
You got it. I'll work on my internet, Will.
Hey, best health to everybody out there. And if anybody can donate a few extra dollars for Ron's internet, I mean, tough times, okay? So send it his way.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for
Will.
tuning in to this edition of Wake
Thanks,
Up
guys.
Niners. For Coach Healy and Coach Sanchez, I'm Matt Swerat. So long, everybody.